State child care officials say new data shows care is consuming a bigger share of family budgets. A new survey shows a typical Wisconsin family of four can spend around 20% of its income per child on that care. The report says federal and state programs like child care counts and bridge payments help keep providers open and hold down price hikes, but that money, it's running out.
75% of families are paying the full tuition cost. And so that is when people talk about how expensive this is, they are feeling it in very direct ways, and it is almost all families.
Researchers at UW-Madison say about a quarter of providers expect they're likely to close without that funding, and most say they'll have to raise tuition, some by more than $50 a week for infant care.